Okay, in this lesson, we are going to be talking about the third step of your PSA project, and that is creating the video, creating your public service announcement. So there's really kind of three steps to this. One of them you hopefully have already done, and that is to storyboard your idea. So by the time of this lesson, the due date has passed for this. So if I don't have that, hold off, because hopefully you're getting some feedback from me. I haven't graded them yet, obviously, but if there's something that I think needs to be addressed, you'll hear from me. Okay? Step two is that you need to create or gather your clips. So you're either going to film them or find them. So this is an important step before you actually begin editing the video. You want to get all of your clips into one place. I suggest Google Drive. It really doesn't matter. But you need to have them in a central location so that later when you're putting them into whatever video editor you're using, you've got them all there accessible. You're not trying to find stuff on the fly. You're good to go. Okay? So hopefully before you go onto the editing process, you've got your clips. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, what can I use for my clips? You've got a few different options. Obviously, the one introduced day one of this project was you can film your own PSA. And many of you are going to go this route. And for some of the scenes that you guys have told me that you want to shoot, this is the easiest route to go, is filming your own, right? Because you might need a shot of a mom in a kitchen making some snacks for her kids, and the kids run around like crazy or whatever. Okay, well, you can either find something like this, you can film it yourself, or maybe you don't have kids running around at your home, but your neighbor does. You can maybe ask them to just film that short clip, because most of these segments aren't going to be that long, right? You're talking anywhere from 3 to 10 seconds, I'd say, on average for each clip before you get to the end of your video. So to film your own, you can use your phone camera, obviously. You can use a webcam. You can be sitting, if you're doing that informative structure, you can kind of just film yourself kind of talking at the camera. You can use a DSLR camera if you have and know how to use one, and then you would have to upload those videos from the camera onto your computer. And you can also use Screencastify, or really any desktop capturing service. The reason I'm recommending Screencastify is you can actually get it for free right now in April of 2020 by using a code COVID-19. COVID code. I'll have to look that up and get that out to you guys. So if you're interested in using Screencastify, reach out to me. I'll get you the code. I think it works as long as you have a school account. So you would, of course, use your MyOLSD email address for that. But what Screencastify does is it records your screen. So let's say you've got a PowerPoint that you're going through, or you've got images that you want to kind of flip through and talk through. You can use Screencastify to do that. Many of you may be looking for YouTube clips. So I'm getting a lot of requests where they're saying things like, well, I need a shot of a creek that is littered. You may have a creek nearby you that is littered and you want to go film that. That's great. But you may have to look up some sort of footage for this. You want to keep these short. You don't want to just steal somebody else's video, somebody else's public service announcement, and use that. So what I shouldn't see is, well, somebody else did this PSA on pollution, so I just took 30 seconds from theirs and I'm putting it into mine. No. You might want a clip from theirs. And so what you're going to do is you're going to download that clip, okay? And I've given you one website here. If you use this slide later, you can copy this or just click the link and it'll open up. But there's many different ones where you're ripping it from YouTube. And all you got to do is just got to copy your YouTube URL. And you want to use MP4 if you want video. If you're getting music, you can use MP3 for audio. So I'm going to copy and paste this YouTube URL. I'm going to go to my converter. I'm going to click MP4, and then I'm going to click convert, and it's going to turn that into a video clip that I can use. I can cut up. I can use it as if it's my own video clip. Of course, you're going to have to cite that if you use it, but that's how it is done. Okay. You also might be using still images. Now, please, you're doing a video, so please don't give me just a bunch of still images with you talking over them like a slideshow. This is not a slideshow. However, you can use slideshow elements to tell your story. Be careful here, because if you're using Google Images, I really strongly encourage you to use images that are labeled for reuse, just to avoid copyright infringement. Now, you're not going to get charged with copyright infringement because you're only going to submit this to me and you're going to share it with the target audience, but you shouldn't be doing that by posting it to YouTube or anything like that. But just because it's labeled for use doesn't mean you don't cite it. It just means that they have allowed you to use it, even if you want to use it for commercial use, like you're going to sell something. But for this, you would go to your Google Images, search whatever you want to search, and then you're going to click Tools. It's going to pull up a menu here. You're going to click Labeled for Reuse, or I think it's Usage. Actually, just let me pull it up here. You're going to go to Tools, Usage Rights, Labeled for Reuse. And now you're using kind of public domain stuff that you're allowed to use. Alrighty. In a minute, I'm going to show you how to use Adobe Spark. Adobe Spark also has stock images that you can use, and it's going to provide that copyright information for you. Okay, so you can use any video editor that you want. We are encouraging you to use Adobe Spark for two main reasons. One, it's free. It's actually not free, but the school has paid for this, so it is free to you. Pro Tools, all that stuff. And two, it creates a pretty professional product. Okay, it's not the same as like making your own video, but it is pretty professional. So I'm not going to go through a whole Adobe Spark tutorial today. I thought about doing that, but one, not everybody's going to use it, and so it'd be a 10-15 minute waste of your time if you're like, Mr. Meadows, I already know how to use Adobe Premiere, their video editor, so why would I use Adobe Spark? Good point. But two, other people have already done tutorials on these, and they'd probably do a better job than I would do anyway because I'm actually not super familiar with the program. Okay, but we are recommending it for those reasons mentioned, and it's pretty easy. So you can click this. This is on the PSA Guidelines PowerPoint that I'm currently going through. It's also in the PSA Guidelines Word doc that is on Schoology. That's a live document, so you would just go into that and click this to get a video tutorial. You can also click Ms. Starcher's walkthrough, which also has a link to another video. And if you go onto Schoology and you go into Bicep Phase 3, you will see a link to instructions for using Adobe Spark. This is what Ms. Starcher put together for you. Again, she's got a how-to video here. She's got just some basics on how to log in, which I'm going to show you here in a second. It's pretty easy. And then some step-by-step instructions that kind of mirror what the video shows you how to do. Okay, but like I said, it's real simple. If you're interested in doing it, it's about a 10-minute tutorial video, and you'll be flying. You'll be fine. To access Adobe Spark, it's in your MyOLSD portal. It's right here on the main page. You can always search Spark if you can't find it, but it looks like that. You're going to click that. As always, you want to log in with your MyOLSD account. Probably remember this from the last video I did. You've got these projects here. Well, now you definitely want to create a slideshow. I don't know why it calls it slideshow. If you hover over it, you see it's clearly a video. They're going to ask you to come up with an idea or a title. You can skip this for now. You can also use templates. I actually don't recommend using these because they tell you kind of specific things to put in there, but I'll show you just kind of what it looks like if you do use a template. Concept, example, explanation, that sort of thing. You got different options here. Again, watch the tutorial to see how to use all of this stuff, but the end product, when you click download here, is going to create a nice video for you. It's got voiceover work, it's got text, you can add subtitles, all that good stuff. So very nice, handy program for your use there. Finally, you're going to have to cite your sources. Okay, so I'm guessing that even if you film your own video, you're probably going to use things that came from your Bicep research. But if you're using images or YouTube clips, you absolutely need to cite those. They are not yours. They don't belong to you. You are using them. Now, you might say, well, isn't this fair use? Because it's for educational purposes. Well, true, but don't you have to cite your sources in a research essay for school? Isn't that for educational purposes? Here's the thing. Yes, you can use copyright protected work without infringing in some circumstances, but this is directly from Google here. Look what they're saying. They're saying that even if you give credit to the copyright owner, that you're not monetizing it, that you were charged for a copy, like let's say you're showing a DVD that you bought. If you've seen repeated content, and a lot of times people take a YouTube video and they just copy it, like they'll take a commercial that someone else filmed and put it on their YouTube page. And you're like, well, everybody's copying it. Doesn't matter. If you recorded it yourself, if you copied it from a textbook, if you state that no copyright infringement is intended, those things do not matter. Now, we are under fair use, which means we are doing it for educational purposes. This is why I'm allowing you to use YouTube clips, to use songs from recorded artists, okay, all that good stuff. Please do not publish this anywhere outside of our classroom. You're going to show it to your target audience, but you're not publishing it anywhere to avoid any sort of copyright infringement. But it doesn't mean that we don't cite our sources. You still want to cite your sources. We can use it and not get sued for using it, but it doesn't belong to us. So we still want to cite our sources. So I'm going to walk you through just how to cite the main sources you're going to be using in this project. One main source you're going to use is your research. This is the easiest of all. Okay, you're just going to go to your Noodle Tools annotations page that you exported into your essay, or just go back into Noodle Tools and copy and paste the citation. Simple as that. They did the citation for you. It should be correct. That is your source. Now you might be saying, well, what if I put stats or data or a quote on a slide? Do I need an in-text citation? Okay, technically you do not actually need an in-text citation for that slide. However, you may want to put an in-text citation on that slide to strengthen your argument by using that source. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. You're stating data on smog pollution, and you give data, and then you say that that data came from the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. Well, that's going to lend credence to the fact, right? We're not just wondering where did they get this from. Sure, you're going to put your sources at the end of the video, but this tells us in that moment, hey, the EPA came up with this. So that's pretty credible. So in that case, you're appealing to logic because you're giving the statistic, but you're also appealing to ethics, right? The authority of the source. What if you use an image? Okay, well, here's the APA guidelines for an image. I'm going to kind of walk through how you do this. I'm going to use this image here. And I'm going to go to my Google search. I've searched classroom. I've got it labeled for reuse. Here's the picture that I want to use. And you'll notice here, look, what do I need? I need the artist name, the year, the title. That's a lot. That doesn't all come from here. This is not the artist name. So what I actually have to do is I actually have to click a link that's going to open up that page. And here now is that picture on this website. You can see now that I have a date that this is published. That doesn't necessarily mean that's when the picture was taken. But I'm going to use that date anyway for example purposes. I can also click on photo details, which is great, but we actually don't have a lot of photo details for this. So I'm just going to use the information that's here. Your job when you're citing this is to provide as much information as possible. You might not have all the information, but you need to give as much as you can. Okay, so for this, I've got the artist's last name. Well, in this case, it's an organization. It's the U.S. Air Force that created this image. It is from 2014. It does not have a title, which means I need to come up with a description. So I've got Air Force sergeants talk to high schoolers. The format is the, you'd think it would be like JPEG or GIF or whatever, but no, they just want digital image. It could be infographic, but most of you are just going to put digital image in brackets like that. And then you've got period and then retrieve from, and you're just going to copy and paste the URL. The easiest way to do this is you right click on the image, copy image address. We do not want this address, the URL of the page. We want the URL of the image. And then I'm going to copy and paste that after retrieved from. So it should look like that. That's an image. What about a YouTube video? Okay, well, I need similar details here. So I'm going to go to YouTube. I've searched year-round school. Let's say I've watched this video and I'm gonna clip it and take a segment from it, or maybe even just cite information from it. Either way, doesn't matter. And here's the information I need. I need the author, which sometimes is a person's name, sometimes it's an organization, like PBS NewsHour. Sometimes it's a screen name, like Mr. Who's the Boss. And then that's the name that you would put there. Now, if he also provides his actual name, you could put his actual name and then in parentheses put Mr. Who's the Boss. There's different ways you can do it, but if they have their actual name, put their actual name. So for here, I'm going to put PBS NewsHour. I then need the year, month, and day that this was published. So I've got 2018 is the year, July is the month, 24th is the date. So I'm just going to, so I've got all that, 2018, comma, July 24th in parentheses. Then I need this title, so I'm just going to copy, why does it keep doing that? Copy and paste into the title there. I want, after the title of the video, I want the word or phrase video file in brackets. That's just what we're going to call it, video file. This is APA, period, and then retrieved from, and again, I need the URL, so I'm going to copy and paste up here the URL. Boom, retrieved from, got it. Okay. Citing music, this is probably the trickiest of them all because we're going to be real tempted to just go to YouTube and be like, well, I got this music from a YouTube video. No, you didn't. It's a recording artist, so you actually need all the details of the creation of that song. This is why YouTube's so particular about when you use music. A lot of times they'll flag it. A lot of times they'll put the copyright information in your description. Sometimes they'll mute it. Music is like a crazy industry that plays by different rules. So if you want to use the music that Adobe Spark gives you, you don't have to cite a thing. It's just typical background music. If you want to go find public domain music, a lot of artists will put their music online and just say, hey, you can use this. And usually they'll say, hey, attribute it to me, but sometimes it's just fair use. You can just grab it, background music, throw it in there. That's different. We're talking about using recorded artists with copyright in our music or in our video. And remember that this music, if you're going to use it, needs to be school appropriate. The song that I have picked to demonstrate is not school appropriate. Love me some Ariana Grande, can't use this in my video. Anyway, I picked it for a couple reasons. I think it's going to be helpful to demonstrate what this looks like. So I need the songwriter last name, I need the year of publication, I need the recording artist. So sometimes, let's say like the Beatles, George Harrison, Paul McCartney, they might write the song, but then the Beatles perform it. So that's why we have recording artists is often different from who wrote the song. Album, the type of audio that it is, and then the record label information. The easiest way to do this, guys, I think, is actually Wikipedia. So if I just Google my song here, I'm not going to click YouTube. I'm not going to click lyrics. Okay, I'm going to go all the way down until I find Wikipedia or just search it on Wikipedia because Wikipedia has all the copyright information for us. Okay, and it's usually over here on the right. So again, what do I need? Well, I need the songwriter's last name and initials. So I've got Grande, comma, A, period. But look at this songwriter credit. Yeah, she wrote the song, but so did all these other people. If it's a couple names, you need to put each last name in the order that it appears with their initials. That would be up to 3. If it's more than 3, you're just going to do the first name listed. So in this case, the predominant name is Ariana Grande, and then et al. So Grande, comma, A, period, comma, et al, period. Your publication is 2019 is when it came out. The title of the song, normally you would put this in parentheses quotation marks, if you were like citing it in an essay, but for this final citation, you just put the title of the song, period. In italics, you put, you put on, and then whatever the album name is. So on, name of the album is Thank You Next. Okay. Notice I skipped over recorded by artist if different from writer. That's because Ariana Grande is the artist and the writer, so I don't need that. But this is where, if it was like the Beatles, I would put recorded by the Beatles if it was different from the songwriter. The medium of recording, I'm using the MP3. Most of you guys are going to be using the MP3, okay? I shouldn't see weird stuff on here like 8-track, right? Because you're not patching that into your computer. You're just downloading an MP3, I'm guessing. Period. And then I need the record label information. So again, Wikipedia is great for this because they have the record label here, but I have to click on Republic record label to get this information. And so I see here that the location is New York, New York. So I've got New York, comma, state, colon, and the record label is called Republic, or Republic Records, actually, I should probably have said. All right, that is citing music. Trickiest of the bunch, I think. Now, the last thing you might be wondering is, do I need a reference page? Well, sort of. You need credits, right? Just like a movie has end credits. So you can just have a blank screen at the end with text on it, and that can be your reference page. You could have scrolling text like they do in movies, but not needed. But we just need to see what sources you are using. You don't even necessarily need to say, on slide 1, I used this, or from 37-second mark to the 42-second mark, I use this. You just list your sources in alphabetical order. We're going to use APA format. It's not what the film industry uses. So even though you're making a movie, we are doing this project in APA format. You should be familiar with it at this point in time. So just follow APA citation guidelines. All right. Finally, you have to publish it. Now, I've been saying don't publish it, don't publish it. I mean, you need to get it into a format that you can turn it in and a format that you can show it to other people. I guess technically you could upload to YouTube if that's the easiest way to show it to other people. Just make the video private. As soon as you publish it and make it public, you're going to get flagged for all sorts of stuff, most likely if you use like music and other video clips and stuff. So don't do that. So however you're going to make this viewable, so typically it's AVI format, MP4, .mov files. It's got to be a file that's a common video format. You might have a video editor. You're going to click export. Other video editors like Adobe Spark will say download. Doesn't matter. It's all the same. You're going to publish it in one of those formats. And you're going to upload it to Schoology. Now, Schoology is pretty limited into the amount of space that you can upload. For instance, this video that I'm recording right now will be too big. And so what I do is I upload it to Google Drive instead, and then I share the link on Schoology. So if the video is too big for Schoology, that's what I would do. You have a Google Drive with unlimited space, basically. So it might take an hour, maybe not, half an hour, depends how long your video is, but upload it. And then all you have to do is you have to give me the link. However, make sure you share it with me first. Now, just sharing it isn't turning it in. You are going to have to share it and then turn it in on Schoology because, again, we are submitting everything via Schoology for this project. Okay, so that's how I will know, and that's how I will grade you. All right? Finally, the moment you've all been waiting for, we have your rubric. So this is the rubric. Basically, each one of these is going to be 10 points, adding up to 100 points. And I'm going to kind of go over this and just make note that the last couple there are really once you turn in the final thing, but you're going to submit your video 2 weeks from this video lesson on Monday, May 4th. And that'll be true whether or not we are back in the building or not. Either way, you'll submit it on Schoology. So here's what you need to consider as you are filming, editing, gathering all the clips, doing all that stuff. One, the PSA is between 1 to 3 minutes in length. This is actually the biggest thing, I don't say the biggest thing I'm concerned about, but based on the storyboards that I've gotten so far, most people where I send them back to do more on their storyboard, it's because it's hard to tell that you're going to get, I mean, geez, even 30 seconds out of it, let alone a minute. So make sure that you've got that full length there. 3 is on the long end, by the way, guys. I'm not really expecting 3-minute PSAs, but some people, you may go longer, but you should be hovering right around that minute mark to meet the minimum requirement. Content would be that you are demonstrating full grasp of the topic, so we're obviously getting an understanding of what you're trying to convince us of. You're presenting complete and accurate information. Use stuff that you've researched to make sure you're packing this full. I shouldn't say packing it full. It does not need to be a research-based PSA, but make sure that we are getting not just an emotional appeal or not just a logical appeal, but that you got the total package there. Also, part of content is making sure that your text is free of grammatical errors, spelling errors, other writing mechanic errors, stuff like that. And I would say speech, it's harder to see an error, but avoid, colloquialisms and slang and stuff like that in your speech. Technical quality, this just is the technical skill in the production of the PSA. So if you use Adobe Spark, this should be, for the most part, just 100%. If you use your own video editing program, that's fine. I know you guys are going to turn out some awesome products here, but part of this means that, that we can see the images. You're not putting like blurry stuff in there. There's nothing that's distracting. It's not like we're seeing collages where you can't tell what the picture is. The voiceovers are audible. There's not like a fan blowing right on the microphone, and so we can't hear a word that you're saying, or you've turned up the background music too loud, so we can't hear the voiceover. Avoid distracting imagery. Don't put anything inappropriate. If you've got a very serious tone to your PSA and you put a meme in there, that instantly going to get deducted for that. So that would not be appropriate for the style that you're going for. And then any extra effects that you add contribute positively. So by all means, use a green screen, add special effects if you have access to those types of things, but don't do it to the point where the message gets lost amid the special effects. Okay? And as always with this stuff, guys, if you're not sure and you're like, well, I want to do this thing, but I don't want to lose points for being distracting, just run it by me. Shoot me a message, I'll let you know what I think. The next category is originality and creativity. Basically, this one is pretty subjective. It's going to be hard for me to really evaluate this, but it's very easy to tell when somebody just kind of phones it in, took a few video clips on their phone while they were talking, and then sent submit. I've already seen some storyboards that are just like, man, it took you a minute and a half to drop some stick figures and send that my way. So again, we should just see a level of finesse that goes into these videos. It should be a product of hard work. Okay, you're only doing 2 projects during this OLSD closure. The PSA, which is really, this is meant to be the capstone of your senior exit project. So you guys should be taking this very seriously and doing a really good job on this, using all that time where we're not in class doing all these exercises, doing all that stuff. It should be poured into this video. So this category, like I said, it's hard to really tell you how you're going to get an A+ in this category, but it should be evident that you were creative, that you put effort into it, that it is organized, and that you're just really pouring yourself into this. Should be original ideas. And by the way, feedback from the storyboards and from your proposals can help a lot with that. If you're getting responses from me that are like, I'm not sure, can you maybe do more here, do a little bit of this, that, and the other, and you don't, you're probably going to not get 100% in that category. Okay, the next category is effective persuasion. So again, you are supposed to be persuading. You set out on your proposal to say, here's what we wanted to accomplish, here's who we're targeting, and what we want them to come away from this video thinking or feeling or believing. Well, did you do it? How close did you get? So we should see the persuasive appeals, like I said, emotional, logical, ethical. We should see persuasive techniques used to deliver a strong, effective message about the selected topic. That you actually are being persuasive with this video and being engaging, capturing your audience, and making them care about your topic. Okay, over here on the right, we've got tone and style. So remember, you set out with your proposal to say, this is the tone and style that we're going for. And it didn't have to match one of the ones from this PSA Guidelines PowerPoint that I'm going through, but those are examples that you can use to inspire yourself for tone and style. If you need to change your tone and style, you start putting it together and you're just like, man, I'm being really silly, but I feel like actually this should be more serious. That's fine, but submit another proposal. You're not going to lose points on your proposal. You're not going to get counted late or anything. But I need to see that you're switching gears, because when I sit down to review these, I'm going to measure how accurate are you in achieving that intended tone and style. How accurate are you in targeting that audience that you set out to target? How much do you really address the issues that you're saying that you're trying to address? And then, of course, your content should be school appropriate. That goes for visuals, words on the screen, voiceover words, and certainly music. Okay, even if there's innuendos and it's not explicit lyrics, but it's leading in a certain direction, don't use it. Next up is purpose. So the intended purpose is achieved. Remember, that's another thing from your proposal that you said, hey, our purpose is to have a call to action, or our purpose is to have people question their beliefs, or whatever that was, okay? Again, how much does this PSA achieve that intended purpose? The content, the tone, the message, all those things lend to the purpose rather than distracting from it. You shouldn't have anything that derails your intended purpose, leads away from it. Everything should contribute toward it. Okay, fair use refers to all that stuff that we just talked about a couple minutes ago. The outside sources that you're using, images, video clips, music, research, etc., everything that you're using that isn't coming from you is given appropriate credit in the form of APA citations. I would just put these at the very end of the video. Okay, the last two categories, you're actually not going to worry about this when you necessarily make your video, but when you do your final submission for this. So you're going to submit your video by Monday, May 4th. And then in the week after that, you're going to show your video to that target audience, get feedback, and I'll give you a feedback form for that. And then you're going to say, hey, here's how we would revise this PSA if we were to reshoot it. You don't have to make those changes, but you need to say what those changes would be. This just shows like a thoughtful process of like improvement, and it gives you a chance to say, well, we maybe dropped the ball in this area, but here's what we would do better the second time around. Okay, and it should be based on the feedback from the target audience. And you're gonna turn both of those in, and then those will kind of get attached to your final grades. So you're really not going to get the final grade for this massive project until you actually submit the feedback with the revisions. But again, video should be done before that because you need that week that follows to send that video out. And I'll have another lesson that kind of explains like, here's what you need to do, here's how you get your word out there. It's pretty much going to be putting it on Google Drive and sharing a link, but you will want to have that video done before you, of course, reach out to get feedback. Okay? This little disclaimer at the bottom I already went over. Just make sure that if you're changing anything, and you're allowed to do this, clear it first. One, make sure you get approval, and two, it also clues us in, hey, this final product is going to be different from what we initially proposed, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay?